Well, hey there, everybody. So we've got a doozy of a BTS today. It's Sean and Pastor Steve. And
A doozy?
It's a doozy.
I didn't get the memo.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
So you were talking about the conquest of the Canaanite people in Deuteronomy. And man, I mean, this is something that's a little controversial in our time, wouldn't you say, Steve?
Yeah, well, there are opponents of the Bible, opponents of the gospel that say that's unethical, that's immoral,
Yeah.
it's terrible, how awful of God. But then they also turn right around and say, but it never happened.
Right. Yeah, in that confusion. And you were doing straight up apologetics in your sermon today. Do you want to talk about that with us?
What was that? Yeah, so some of the reason for that, Sean, is the church is really under attack these days. And I don't want you to think I'm just like a crazy guy running out wild-eyed in the woods somewhere.
So other people are saying this.
Yeah, so I was listening to Al Mohler. Now, he's the president of Southern Seminary, the flagship seminary of the Southern Baptist Convention, which is the largest Christian evangelical denomination in the nation, maybe in the world, I don't know. So he was saying that the church is really unusually under attack in our day from many fronts. This is a paraphrase, but that's pretty close. And then he started naming the fronts. And of course, some of the obvious ones that you would think of right now were like all the gender stuff, and then the LGBTQ plus stuff. We're under attack from all that. But the Bible especially is under attack. Well, it always has been. But it's especially under attack in our day because now the Bible is like the enemy. The Bible is oppressive. The Bible is immoral. The Bible is not, I can't think of the right word, doesn't have the right morals and ethics. It's unethical, that's it. So I'm enjoying having some time there in Deuteronomy to really point out that now here's one of the very places where they say the Bible's evil, the Bible's immoral. Let's look at that. Let's take it apart. Let's see. And when we're all done, it's actually, no, God is sovereign. That's what's going on
That's
here.
the answer.
So I enjoyed having time in chapter 1. There's more of chapter 1, but in the first part of chapter 1 to cover that. Also, I spent a little bit of time in the sermon, and I would have liked to have more time on this, Sean, on the myth that all sins are created equal, the lie that all sins are created equal. I'd like to do a whole podcast on that someday, because that really is big in our day, especially with, like, let's say the LGBTQ stuff. And evangelicals are like falling over themselves to say, oh, but we're just as bad, but our sins are just as bad. But we're not trying to say you're bad. No, you're not bad, and so on. Wherein the Bible calls some sins, not many, not most, some sins are called abominable, or that is an abomination. And the ones that we saw today said the land's vomiting you out because of those things.
Right. The child sacrifice that they were practicing and some other things.
Yeah. So evangelicals are right in saying we want to love sinners, but they're wrong in saying all sins are created equal. Some sins are worse before God and to man. We're out of time.
We are, Steve, but it's really interesting, and looking forward to another video with you on Thursday.
Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome.